In the world of Korean royal dramas, audiences are already familiar with power struggles, succession wars, and tragic romances. But Perfect Crown is doing something far more difficult, turning a cold contractual marriage into the emotional center of the most brutal survival game inside the palace. And episode 9 became the turning point that transformed the series from a romantic melodrama into a true bloody chess game. What shocked viewers most was not the exposure of the marriage contract scandal itself, but the way the drama revealed that love can become the most dangerous weakness for people born into royalty. Throughout the previous episodes, Grand Prince Lee Ahn, played by Byeon Seok, had been portrayed as calm, rational, and emotionally controlled. He understood the rules of palace politics. He knew who his enemies were. He knew he was constantly being watched. He even knew that the Queen Dowager had forged the royal decree, yet chose to remain silent in order to protect her grandson. Lee Ahn understood how power worked. But he failed to realize one thing: love can destroy a person's composure faster than anything else. The moment Lee Ahn stood in front of the media to protect Hee Joo after their marriage contract was leaked marked the exact point where his character truly changed. Before that, their marriage still felt more like a political arrangement than an emotional relationship. But the rage in Lee Ahn's eyes as reporters aggressively cornered Hee Joo revealed everything. He no longer saw her as a chess piece. That is why episode 9 was exceptionally powerful. Instead of relying on meaningless twists for shock value, the writers turned every small emotional moment into fuel for a much larger war. A single glance from Hee Joo, Lee Ahn clenching his injured hand in frustration, or the Queen Dowager's cruel insults all became pieces of a bigger picture. This palace has never had room for love. Ironically, the most surprising character in this episode was neither Lee Ahn nor Hee Joo, but Prime Minister Min Jeong Woo. In earlier episodes, he appeared to be a cold but politically neutral figure. However, episode 9 completely stripped away his mask. He knew exactly who was spying on Lee Ahn. He knew the leaked contract would trigger a massive scandal. He also knew Hee Joo would become the target of destruction. And yet, he remained silent. Not only silent, he actively fed the information to the press. That was the moment the drama evolved from a family conflict into a true political war. Because the most terrifying people inside a royal palace are never the ones openly holding knives, but the ones quietly smiling behind the chessboard. Min Jeong Woo is exactly that kind of character. He never poisoned anyone himself. He never personally set the palace on fire. He never shouted threats. Yet every move he made pushed Lee Ahn and Hee Joo closer to disaster. Meanwhile, Queen Dowager Yoon represents a more traditional but highly effective type of villain, a woman so obsessed with power that she is willing to destroy anyone standing in her way. What makes the character compelling is that the writers do not portray her as purely evil. Her fear of Lee Ahn potentially becoming king actually reflects the anxiety of an old aristocratic order losing control. That is why Hee Joo is hated for more than just her low social status. She represents change. A woman with no royal blood becoming the most influential figure beside the Grand Prince is something the palace aristocracy simply cannot tolerate. The tragedy of Hee Joo lies in the fact that she understands this perfectly. The scene where she kneels before her father and begs him to help Lee Ahn became one of the most heartbreaking moments of the episode. Not because she was weak, but because it was the first time Hee Joo abandoned her pride for the man she loved. This detail is incredibly important. In the earlier episodes, Hee Joo constantly kept an emotional distance. She entered the marriage with complete rationality. But now, she is the first one to openly admit her feelings. That proves love in Perfect Crown is not built through sweet confessions, but through surviving countless conspiracies together. That is also why the shocking ending becomes even more painful when Hee Joo is the one who suggests divorce first. At first glance, the decision seems irrational. After finally realizing their feelings for each other, why would she choose to leave? But on a deeper level, it is actually the most logical decision possible. Hee Joo realizes she has become Lee Ahn's greatest weakness. Every time she is threatened, he loses control. Every step he takes toward power is dragged down by scandals connected to her. Inside this palace, love is not strength. It is the easiest vulnerability to manipulate. That is the cruel philosophy Perfect Crown is trying to explore. Another reason the drama exploded across social media after episode 9 was the cast's performances. Byeon Woo-suk once again proved why he is considered one of the strongest actors in Korea when it comes to emotional acting. The scene where Lee Ahn squeezes his hand until it bleeds from suppressing his anger barely needed dialogue, yet audiences could fully feel the character's helplessness. Meanwhile, IU delivered a much more mature version of Hee Joo compared to earlier episodes. She is no longer simply a woman waiting to be protected. Hee Joo now actively makes her own choices, even when those choices shatter her own heart. Perfect Crown is taking an extremely risky but fascinating path, transforming a romantic love story into a political tragedy. And as episode 9 ends with Hee Joo asking for a divorce, viewers finally realize one heartbreaking truth. The scariest thing inside this palace is not the people trying to kill Lee Ahn. It is the fact that he finally has something to lose.